I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we just thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, Lord, to serve this community, the students, the faculty. Watch over us and guide us, Lord. Help us to just make wise decisions. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. I can note that there is a quorum present, 2 board members absent. The agenda was posted in a timely manner. This is a legal meeting according to Texas Open Meeting Act. Next item is public comments.
No one signed up.
No one signed up. Next item is communications.
We have none.
Next item, consent agenda. Now the minutes of the August 26th regular meeting, the monthly financial report, and list of students transferring into the district for 21-22 school district. Does any board member have any items they want pulled or discussed? Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
Make a motion.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next item is information items.
Ms. Fouch?
So we'll start with attendance. Our attendance for what it has been pretty good for us. Our kindergarten had a slight dip for a second, but hopefully this week we'll get everybody back. And I think we're going to have 1 kid out right now, I think. So 2. We're working really hard. Our pre-K is starting with coding, and that's a new program that we adopted this year with our Leapfrog. So they are coding in pre-K, doing a lot of good things. The Poppets are really popular right now, and our 3rd grade and SPED classes are doing math with 100 arrays, and they're using the Poppets. And I'll walk in there, I'm like, we're not supposed to have toys and play in here, are we? And they're like, it's an instructional tool. So they know that they use it for their instruction. So it's a lot of fun. Circuits and a lot of good things, hands-on learning are happening. And this is officially the start of the second 6 weeks. So what you got with a cookie, we gave it to all of our teachers too, because they have been very diligent and working hard. It is a tough job, but hopefully we show them enough that we appreciate all they're doing, and so we appreciate what you guys do for us as well. And so a little appreciation for you guys. Today our teachers finished up their 2nd day of Kagan training, which is cooperative learning in the classroom, and so they finished that, and they will start their second 6 weeks tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. When we have our National Honor Society induction, he is handling that this evening. We can see overall attendance at the secondary schools at 94. The last couple of weeks, our attendance as a district has been lower. We've been between 90 and 91%. The last probably 3 to 4 days, we've been back in that 94 to 95 percentile range, which is where we need to continue to see. But we're seeing that really around this area right now, that attendance has been much lower. You can see the items in his monthly highlights. We've had some recruiters from A&M, Texarkana, as well as TC come out and visit with our students. I saw some pictures of those quails that Mr. Barron had hatched. That was pretty cool for him. He's got some stuff there on the back as well, things that are coming up just to keep in mind. One thing that we are doing, and one of our goals with CCMR, is those ACT tests. We are offering those on campus so that our kids do not have to travel and really just give them a better opportunity to be able to take them. So we'll be offering that coming up in October. All right. I guess I get to be Coach Turner next with the athletic director report. So far, we can see cross country's up and running. At this point, we've got some full teams here, both with boys and looks like our junior high girls, which is good for us. We've been trying to increase the participation with those. Volleyball has started. They're currently 1-1 in district. We'll have games coming up tomorrow and then again on Friday. You can see football is 2-2 in non-district. Junior high volleyball, we just got a win with the B team, sounded like. He's over there watching that 18 play, so they're getting better and trying to work on those. We've got our junior high team there. I know they've had 2, that last game was a pretty close game and a hook and lateral, beat them at the last second, but it was a pretty good game for them. They played well most of it. Just overall, he gave you some updates on their fundraiser. You can see they raised almost $11,000 through that fundraiser. The new gym floor, of course, we've done that. We've changed home side. So far, that's been pretty smooth, just people getting used to it. And so overall, things are looking up for them there and going well in athletics.
Thank you. Next item is item 7, update discussion of COVID-19 impact.
Just COVID-19, actually our numbers at the district have decreased somewhat dramatically from last month. We did have in August more active cases really than, or as many active cases than we did at some of our highest months last time. Currently we have 3 active cases. That includes students and staff, is what we turned in this morning to TEA. In our Department of Health Services that we had 3 active cases. So we're continuing to monitor that. We've started our testing program. We've tested about 8 students and faculty. Through the first couple of weeks of that, we've had one that has tested positive out that wasn't feeling well that we were able to test. So that's been working pretty well for us. We have hired one aide and are working on hiring the second one. We talked about substitutes being an issue the last time we talked about this, so we do have those. Had those positions posted. We do have one officially hired, and they're working on getting the secondary one in place for that. So having them on board has really helped us be able to cover those items for us. So overall, things seem to be looking up. I saw that our district, our county numbers, there had been almost 1,600 active cases, and it's down to about 1,100. So it seems like maybe that we've hit that peak, and hopefully it'll start kind of starting to level out. So we've certainly seen a change in the numbers so far for us at the district level. Any questions or anything y'all want to discuss with COVID or anything going on campus? Everybody good? All right.
Next item is to approve the 21-22 SHAC committee members.
I've got a list here we'd like to approve as our Safety Health Advisory Committee. So we meet 4 times a school year, and we typically report back to the school board at the end of spring, kind of what we would look at. So this is the committee we'd like to have approved.
Anyone have any questions or any discussion? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. It is unanimous. Consider and approve lighting purchase for softball field.
We've talked about this a little bit, just our overall lighting. We've got a couple issues on our softball field. One is that it continues to blow breakers and has been unreliable, and 2, that it's really just not very good. It's very dark around home plate. So we've had several people come out and look. I've got a recommendation tonight, which would be we're going to look at with Bailey Sign. So Mr. Bailey won't be involved in any discussion or questions at this point. But we've had several companies come out and look at it. Really feel like this is our best option. It's $29,500. That'll be to replace all fixtures on the softball field. They'll be moving those to LED. One, it'll reduce the heat and the electricity pool on there, so we shouldn't be blowing breakers or turning off in the middle of the game. 2, they're supposed to be a brighter fixture that is going to be able to light up specifically around home plate and the field. So it's something that we need to get done. Other quotes that I had were tremendously more than that when we looked at other companies come out. We've replaced everything on the ground. The breakers, the box is new, and the wiring to that has all been looked at, and we've looked at everything to the poles. So this is our next best bet, is to go ahead and replace those. Now, once we get in there, if there are any wiring issues, we may have to look at messing with that once we get in the poles, but we really haven't got into that. We feel like the fixtures are going to be our best bet to replacing those.
So you say did open it for bids, and this is about...
Absolutely. And we've been looking at this for several years, so this is a much better price. We've seen things, just for those fixtures being almost twice what we're looking at.
The fixtures that are there, are they ballast out fixtures?
Yeah. They're going to be the old metal halide. So they're probably 15, probably 20 years old by now. those fixtures.
Did Rusty answer any questions about it, or is he got to stay out of it?
He's got to be out of it.
Okay. So, just replacing with an LED bulb and removing that
The whole
ballast?
fixture, the whole ballast, everything will come out and replace the whole thing with a,
I'm just asking, I mean, just like you can retrofit any light to be an LED bulb, is that not an option with these? To remove the ballast and hardwire?
just take it out. So like what we did at the gym, we removed those ballast out.
Yeah,
and
like
just stuck
like
a
this,
bulb
you
in
can
there.
remove the
Yeah.
ballast and replace it with LED bulbs. Is that an option down there or not an option?
We felt like this is the best option of
Okay.
doing that, is just to have all of that replaced.
Is that the original ones that were on that? They got quite a few years on them.
When we had the sport lighting, people came out and looked at it a couple years ago. They recommended they all be replaced, as well as their recommendation was to look at even replacing some of the poles. You start getting into that, you're looking at big six figures. 120,000, I think, was the replacement cost for the whole deal. So we had them just price out what it'd take to replace those LED fixtures and bulbs. And like I said, this is a much better financial way for us to go than to go with them.
Any other questions or discussion? Do we have a motion to approve lighting purchase?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Passes 4 and 1 abstention, Rusty Bailey. Next item is discussion of A through F ratings related to House Bill 3 goals.
All right, we talked, last year we approved our HB 3 goals, and along with that, we approved our calendar. In September is our calendar date to discuss kind of the A through F ratings. Due to the pandemic, we do not have a rating, so we're going to be scored as not rated, so we don't get an A, B, C, whatever it was. But I wanted to go ahead and just kind of discuss and show you a little bit of what we had and some of that data that's come back through that rating. So in 2019, we were rated as a B. Our overall score was going to be at 84 was our overall score. I'm going to pass these around. This is the newest summary. Don't get too deep into it, and I'll kind of talk y'all through it. But I want to go ahead and pull a comparison up just so that we can look at this and compare our ratings between this year and last year. So when we look at this, this is the star performance is a component score, so it's a raw score. So don't read into the fact we had a 52 this year. But I'll show you last year's what we had. In 2019, we had a 46, which equated out to a 74 when they scale score that. So that was in a C for overall star performance. So what I show you there, from 19 in the district, we had a score of 46, which would have been a 74, to moving up into a 56, which they don't scale for us, but we can see that that is an increase. When we look at our CCMR score, we're actually down just a little bit from where we were. Here's a 67. And if y'all look, this is 2019, so if you look at your score right here, we've got a 61 scale score. Now, part of that is that this is 2 years ago, so this is Brian's class of 2020. When March shut down, we did not get to take our industry certificates, which was one of the things that we had put in place. Floral design, we had some welding certificates to put in place to get some more CCMR points, so that those individuals did not take that. We anticipate that number to go up significantly. Oh, I hit that button. Our graduation was 100. Academic growth was not measured. And then this next one, this relative performance. You can see in 2019, our economically disadvantaged, so free and reduced lunch was right under 63%. If you look at here, we've actually dropped, and we have 55% on free and reduced lunch. So our relative performance, even though we did better overall in STAR scores, our relative performance is going to go down because that's based on socioeconomics. So the higher the socioeconomics, the lower the score is for you to get. Say, if you're going to get a B, you don't have to score as well. So the lower your socioeconomics, the higher score you have to get be able to get a higher rating in that. So if we were to get that right now, with our EcoDisc going down, we're actually going to see, even though it's the same numbers, we're actually going to see a drop here in this B score. But probably the biggest one that we had success with is going to be in the closing the gaps indicator. So I printed that off so we can look at it. This is one I was really disappointed and we didn't do very well at in closing the gaps. So we had a 66 component score with a scale score of 79. Now, they don't have everything put into this as we did before, but we are actually going to be almost in a 90% on that comparatively. So I'm going to pass these out so you can kind of look at these. And I'll kind of walk y'all through this section of it.
Mr. Bradshaw, before we move on, could you explain that socioeconomic disadvantage part to me?
Absolutely. So what the ratings are they take is, so socioeconomics, what they found is on STAR tests, the schools that have the lowest socioeconomic status have the fewest free and reduced lunches. So we'll take a neighboring school district that has 10% of their kids are on free and reduced lunch, are going to score higher on STAR tests. And it goes across the
Free and
state.
reduced lunch gives you a better.
Typically, the lower your scores are going to be. So our relative performance, what they're doing is they're comparing us to schools in that socioeconomic band. So the higher our socioeconomic status is, they're going to compare us to other schools that are in that band. So when we're at 63%, we're going to be compared with other schools in that 63%. So if we could score lower STAR scores, but get a higher letter grade because we have a higher socioeconomic status. Does that make sense?
So it's not necessarily a different grading measure, it's just comparing us to
Yes.
similar schools
Yes.
in socioeconomic?
So if you look in Bowie County, for example, the school district that has the lowest socioeconomic is at 10%, they had the highest scores. The school with the highest socioeconomic had the lowest scores. So what they're trying to do is level that playing field and compare you to like schools when they give you these letter grades. So what we're going to see, because we lost some of that, even though we scored better, that relative performance may actually drop on us because we have fewer kids testing in that, or reporting in lower socioeconomic status. So that's why this year when we're doing these free lunches, it was so important for us to make sure we got all those applications back. So we spend a lot of time calling parents and trying to get, they don't understand that, but we need those back because one, this, and then two, our federal funds, our Title I funds, our state comp ed funds, all of that is tied to these ESSER grant funds. It's all tied to socioeconomic free and reduced lunch numbers. So we're going to be up a little bit this year. We'll be closer to 60, but 63 is the highest we've been. 55 was probably a little lower than what it should have been. It's probably between those two numbers. But so we'll see. Even though we did better in STAR scores, that relative performance will probably drop.
Is this overall high school and grade?
Yes, this is everybody. Any other questions? I know that's really confusing, but I could spend more time on it if need be. But what we're just going to see is even though we did better, that's going to drop. Now, when they do A through F, they just give us the higher of the two. So it may or may not really affect our A through F if we do get A. All right, so this is a lot of information, but this was one we did not do very well on last year, so I wanted to take a little time. So overall, just all students in reading, for example, 44% is where we were when we did this the last time. I think I hit a button, I don't know if that's right. Come on. So we hit, an overall of 44% of our kids met their target last time. This time we're going to be at 59%. So we saw tremendous growth in our reading. The same way if we move across here to your white students, here was what our target was supposed to be. And then this is actually what we're getting to at 46%. This last time, or in 19. This time, we were at 61%. So we saw a tremendous growth as we went across some of those. And then we keep going across. Here, our economically disadvantaged students, we actually met target that time, which was, we scored at 40%, where our target was 33. This year, instead of 40%, we actually scored at 57%. Our special ed number, we're supposed to be scoring at 20%. We doubled it at 41 this year. Continuous enrolled and non-continuous enrolled, both of those went up tremendously. what we see when we look at our math is we do see a decrease. And we talked about this when we looked at COVID numbers. Our overall number, we're above our target. We were supposed to be at 46% met for the district. This year we were at 54%. Previously we were at 47%. So we did better overall, but when we look at like our white students, this is an area that we have to do better. We were at 50% there. This time we were at 55%. And then when we look at economically disadvantaged, this time we did much better than what we did there, which was 52% versus 43%. So what we saw overall in our means categories is that we did go up across most of those goals. So we saw a much better overall performance in that closing the gap section this year, even after COVID, than what we saw previously. So very proud of that effort. I did want to, while we were talking about A through F, since we're not being rated, I did want to just bring y'all's attention to some of this. There's a tremendous amount of information in these reports. But overall, when we look comparatively, we had a really good year this past year, even with COVID, compared to 2 years ago when we got an A through F rating. So I feel like if we were to be rated in that, we'd certainly be in that B range. I'd hope that we'd be at the upper B range and see an increase. But they're not rating us, so we don't get that answer, so I don't know what it'll be. But overall, I just wanted to kind of let y'all see that. If you had any questions, try to answer. They try to make this system, as they say, really simple to understand, but it's really complicated with a whole bunch of other stuff into it. But I do feel like we would have been in a solid B if we had got a rating to it. So I felt good about where we turned out.
So all these groupings, that's
Yes.
dictated by the state?
Yes. And so what it comes down to is if we have more than 25 students in a group, we get rated. And we have to meet these targets on those clubs. So where you see yeses and nos, that's where we have 25 or more students in each one of those groups. So where we got hit last time was we didn't score high enough in our non-economically disadvantaged white students, because you had to reach a 60 in meets, and we were in the 40s. And that's what we talked about before. We weren't doing a good enough job getting our kids to meets. We did a good job of getting them to the approach level. We weren't getting them to that second level of meets and masters. So
Non-economically disadvantaged white students.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We did really well with our economically disadvantaged students, but our non-economically weren't doing as well, which is the highest, if you really look for us, is the highest level that we have to score at. So, but that's why it's so important for us to meet those next targets. So there's a formula based on income.
Of course,
There is a formula based on income, depending on what your income on it is and how many kids you have. And so they turn in those applications. We have to go through there and say yes or no. But basically, if they're qualifying for meal assistance, then they're going to be considered economically disadvantaged. And there's some other things that could, if they're receiving assistance outside of school, it automatically qualifies them for it. But it's something we have to get those forms in every year. So again, we sent them out this year and really had to go back through and make sure that we got them in. Otherwise, we could have, one, hurt ourselves financially, but two, accountability-wise, it could certainly hurt us in the future. So our families did a good job of turning those back in for us. That's all I have for these.
Any other questions or discussion? Nope. Moving on, item 11, superintendent's report.
Just district improvements, gym floors, we're still waiting to get the gym floor cord to put the volleyball standards in. That should be in the next week or so. The elementary gym floor is slated to be replaced on first week of October. They've told me they're going to cord both of those before then, but October 4th is when that floor is supposed to be in, and it'll take them a week to install it. John is going to start next week tearing all that floor out, the baseboards, and starting to get all of that ready so that they can come in and get the new one installed. We've got a couple of air conditioners that have gone out down there at the field house. We're having to look at some replacements down for those as well at this point. But overall, we're at there. We've looked at concrete for the, we talked about those batting cages down there at the baseball field. We've got a little bit of groundwork we're going to have to look at as far as with the size of what's going in there to look at building up underneath it, looking at a pad or something to go under it. So I've got to get a little more feedback on it before we can get started there. Field maintenance, we have hired John Jenkins is going to move into a maintenance field do field maintenance and maintenance for us, and we've hired a individual to replace him in the janitorial and maintenance department. We've actually have somebody for our elementary custodian, I think, getting their fingerprints done this week, so hopefully we'll have all of those positions filled as well. We have contracted out the field maintenance the rest of this month, so John would start the first week of October taking over full-time down there. He's got both the old zero turns, all of those are up and running, so I don't know that we'll have to purchase anything right now. I think we'll be able to get most of those. They're going to start making sure they can get that real mower going back and get it going.
Is he gonna get his, license?
Yeah.
We have not discussed that. Daniel is going to continue to spray for us for now. He said he would continue to do that, but that is something that we do need. And if he's willing to get it, I think it's something that I would sure like for him to have,
Sure need,
just to have here.
just have here, because I think our kids are getting kneed up out there on the playground out here.
We get it, and especially after it rains, we'll get it sprayed, and then when it rains, they'll come back, and absolutely. So our pest control can come out, but it's like everything else, it takes time to get them out there and do so.
And look at those folks too.
EPA don't like you put anything in the ground that stays in the ground anymore. Stays in the ground, you can't use it.
So we will certainly look at what we can do as far as those licenses. Board training, we have a board training, a team of 8 and board training that is going to take place here at MAUD, November 4th. It's something for Region 8. You've got a book here at your table that looks like this. It's got all Region 8's board trainings that are available, but they called and asked me if we'd be willing to host one here, and I told them absolutely. So it'll be not just our board, but it can be others. I don't know who's going to sign up. I've offered, if it's a small group, we can use this room. If there's going to be more than that here, we'll probably do it out there in our cafeteria, set it up as a professional development, put tables out there and chairs around it, and we can use it out there in that area.
Leadership.
But November 4th, we'll have them come here, so certainly would love all of you to be here at that time to get board training. The next one that is on the fall dinner is December 7th. That one typically we go to Region 8 and they'll train us and feed us to those like what we've done typically. So a couple good board training options for us to get our training in there, but certainly if they're going to come here, I thought it'd be good to, certainly we'll sign up to do it. Facility workshop, we have Thursday at 6 o'clock. Tasby will be presenting that for us at 6. And then the last piece I have, we've talked about this previously, but we've had a couple companies come and look at just for energy efficiency. Probably next month we may have a recommendation or a company come do a presentation on what they can do to help us save. Particularly, we talked about our demand charges, trying to control that. One of the biggest bills we get in our electric bill every month is our demand, what is our peak usage for that month. They help try to control it. A lot of what they'll do is replace our thermostats, where we actually have a centrally controlled system for thermostats across the district. But I'll let them kind of talk to us about what that could be and what they can save us and what a contract with them may look like. But I do think it's something that's certainly worth us looking into. We've seen a couple of things that some of our biggest bills for the year are actually in the summertime when we don't have kids here, and a lot of that's the AC's picking up and carrying on. And we've got programmable thermostats, but they can be adjusted, or people can turn them off and do some of those things. So having one that's centrally, I think, would be good. So we'll have them kind of come talk to us about what they may be able to offer. That may be next month that we do that, but just kind of give y'all some heads up before that comes your way.
On the district improvements, was the anything on the walkway with the collapsing roof, or is that something that's going to fall under the assessment?
You talking about the
The
middle school, high
walkway,
school?
yeah, with the,
So I had a couple people come look at it. Matter of fact, we had one that was going to do, a gentleman that was going to do a lot of our restrooms and stuff over here at the elementary and kind of fix some of that water damage, but they've been died with COVID. So we've had some quotes that have come back on that. I'm waiting on him to get back. We've got a couple options, and I think something that we need to look at is long-term. We've seen hardy board, what it would cost us to do it. I've got a vinyl quote. I've got somebody looking at going back in there with some of that outdoor sheetrock that could be painted, just to give us some different options. But I think in that facility assessment, that's certainly something we can discuss more on specifically, because I do think, long range, how much, if we're looking at doing any kind of improvements in that area, how long do we want to put in there, how much money do we want to, spend to kind of replace it. We certainly need an option, but I've kind of got a range of different ones we can. But one gentleman had it and was going to come back, but he's been sick the last several weeks and I haven't heard back from him. So I think he's recovering, but certainly been under the weather.
Nice one.
Absolutely. We need to get it fixed. So I'll have some options with it. We can do some more discussion on some of that this next meeting as well.
Thank you. Anybody have anything else? Sure. All right, next item, executive session. We're going to executive session at 7 p.m. We're discussing personnel, Court of Texas Government Code Section 551.074, and discussion concerning possible purchase and value of real property, Court of Texas Government Code 551.072. Take a 5-minute break. We're coming back into open session at 7:34 p.m. The next item on the agenda is return to regular session. Next one after that is adjourned. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. It is unanimous.